G'day boys and girls, it's your boy, TSDS. Thought I'd do a bit of a channel update as it's been a while, but unfortunately I have some probably not great news for you Final Fantasy players. The short version is that I have decided to quit permanently from Final Fantasy XIV. And if you're still here and you want the slightly longer version, well, here it is. And if it sounds a bit odd or scripted, that's because it is. I'm reading these words off a document. I don't want to bash through something like this off the top of my head because I'll forget half the points I want to make. But that shouldn't make it any less genuine feeling because I've still sat down and spent time writing everything that I wanted to say. Anyway, so my most recent return to Final Fantasy was the second or third time I came back to the game, but just as before, and as much as I enjoy the storyline of the game, the fact that it is forced is too much of a killer for me. There's so much to chew through, and the interesting plot points are so stretched out, I was just constantly starving for any sort of meaningful progression in it. I understand that it's a story-driven game, but when you have 2 or 3 expansions worth of content to chug through, it's just too much. As a result, in my most recent return, I made as much progression in the story as I did on my previous return, and by which I mean nothing. The mere thought of picking up the storyline and starving my way through interesting developments was enough to make sure I never bothered. I've only just made it into Ildishire, I guess, and I would have had to finish the rest of Heaven's Ward and then all of Stormblood before I could start doing any new content. And of course, any content for me is kind of new because I've not done it, but if I wanted to play a single player game, I would have launched something else. The storyline in games like Warcraft might be trash these days, but at least if you hit the level cap, you're no different than any other player when it comes to what you can do. And in this game, I was never able to join any of my FC friends in basically any activity they were doing, even if I had a class of a suitable level, purely because I hadn't done the 18 trillion prerequisites. I know you could just pay to skip the story, but as I said, I did like it and I wouldn't want to skip because I read all the quests, so I like to know what's kind of going on even if I don't remember. And enjoying the storyline and playing with your friends shouldn't be mutually exclusive things, and paying to skip story is kind of like a pretty bad band-aid on the real problem of them forcing it, really. And honestly, I don't actually know how Square Enix plan to keep new players long term, because can you imagine if you had to complete all of the quests in every expansion of Warcraft in order to play current content? I can't think of anything more off-putting for a new player to Final Fantasy XIV than the amount of MSQs in front of them. It's really not the sort of game I can ask my friend to join me on and just ignore the fact that they need to spend the next 3 months questing endlessly just to play with me. I work full time now and I only have a few hours each evening for games. I don't want to know how long it would take me to catch up with the storyline, and I want to enjoy stories at my own pace anyway, not blitz through them like a second job. I also like playing other characters, and as clever as it is to be able to play every class on one character, it really doesn't mean that it's super pointless, at least for me, to make another character, as any class progression I make on an alt might as well be made on the main. I know a lot of people just buy those potions and change their looks, but I don't have that sort of money to waste around, so that's not going to happen. So that's another thing that kind of killed it for me, and honestly, who the fuck wants to play a storyline that long twice? And yes, I know there are people who like to redo the old stuff and remember and blah blah blah, but fuck it for me. It's a shame because I was actually low-key super hyped to return to the game and return to making guides, but I never even got to fucking start making the level 50 hard mode dungeon guides, and that was one of the main reasons why I started making my own guide for everything in the first place. I've said all along that my channel isn't a Final Fantasy channel, but even if my regular content was good, getting an audience is next to impossible these days when no one knows who you are and no one really cares. And you know, that's fine, like, this is just a little hobby for me. I knew I could make decent guides, and there was a real hole for some encounters, so I thought maybe that would get me some views, and maybe a few people would enjoy the humour and become curious to check out my other stuff. And I do say, like, you know, I do say in every guide that, you know, I play other games at the end, and it's not like I would get more traffic to those videos without doing guides, so I thought, well, you know, why not? And, you know, for the most part, it's been pretty great. Like, my guides have got a lot of views, a ton of great support, and it's super cool to look at the analytics and track things like when I first hit 1,000 views on one day, or the monthly growth, likes to dislikes and stuff like that. And, you know, with the ads I've running on the guides, I've actually made a little bit of money, which isn't bad too. Like, it's not a ton, just like a few hundred, but fuck, it's free money really. I bought Stormblood with ad money, and for someone who didn't have a lot of money at the time, that was pretty neat. And as lame as it sounds, the support has been the best part. Reading all the comments of people who seem to have found the guides really useful, or those who have enjoyed my jokes, is pretty great. So that's been cool. I mostly just made these guides for myself as a memory aid, so it's a bit hard to wrap my head around how much people seem to have taken to them, but I still check every day for comments and I enjoy replying to them. I'm not that big yet that I can't do them all. But anyway, so depending on when this video goes up, I may or may not have released it already. But with my Cape Westwind meme guide, at least that puts me down for every encounter from the start of the game to the end of the Realm Reborn storyline, which I think is pretty okay. I would have liked to cover everything and become a bit more of a name in the game world, because I guess who wouldn't find that really cool? But YouTube is my job, and I just don't have the time to kind of like work at it that way. I always enjoy making videos though, and I think I have quite a few pretty solid playthroughs on the channel for those other sort of games. At least my wife thinks I'm funny sometimes. I would really like to have more time to do stuff, but I have work and a young family with another boy on the way, so you know, it is what it is. I've said this same stuff before, and you all know how it is, so it's just life. I'll put videos out when I can, but I often don't have the energy for editing and stuff like that after work and dinner and putting my son to bed and who knows other what little things that need sorting out. Sorry Toga, I actually finished Dead Space quite a while ago. I've just not got around to editing all the videos yet, so look forward to that maybe one day. It makes me feel bad. What's the next? So yeah, I mean at the moment I'm kind of between games. I picked up WoW Classic. Actually my wife kind of forced me to start playing it, and I got into it for a little while, but you can see obviously the background footage I'm using. But I've kind of trailed off that a little bit as well now, because I don't plan to raid. I don't have that kind of like, I can't commit myself to that schedule, so and I'm not really that bothered about endgame that shit anymore. I've done my time on that sort of stuff, so yeah, that's the long version. I'm not going to pretend that it's great, and like 99% of you watching will be from Final Fantasy, so as far as that goes, feel free to unsubscribe. I can't really blame you. I think the normal playthroughs I do are pretty decent once you get into them, so you know, if you're interested, check some of them out. But at the end of the day, I'm just one random dude who has a little YouTube hobby channel, so it's not really any big thing. But anyway, thank you to everyone who has supported me in the guides. I'm sorry it won't continue, but here's me being honest with you, Jon Snow. I still respond to comments, and I'll put out random shit from time to time, and of course if you have any questions about the dungeons, feel free to ask, and I can answer with my knowledge that's at least accurate to the time of the videos. But from here the Final Fantasy stops, so press F to pay respects, and I will see you when I see you. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.